First of all, happy holidays. I've got a mono white Enduring Ideal deck here, and this deck it's pretty sweet. I remember playing Enduring Ideal in Modern some time ago, and it turns out that this is a Modern deck, and it's good against a lot of the decks in the format. So I saw the list pop up on TCGplayer, been playing it, and I like what I've seen so far out of this deck. Straightforward mana base, a good amount of basics. Those help protect you against cards like Blood Moon that may be floating around. These Temple of Triumphs, they are completely off-color temples besides the one Formula Dragon, but they help scry you into what you're looking for, and specifically, they scry you into Enduring Ideal. Nykthos Shrine to Nyx is the most important land in the deck. So your devotion count for white is often quite high because the aim is to have a lot of your cards be permanents, enchantments that stick in play, and you can use Nykthos, make a bunch of mana, so you're not actually paying 7 for an Enduring Ideal. Mistveil Plains, sometimes it turns out that you draw your one of the hits you want to Enduring Ideal for. You can put it on the bottom of your deck if it's removed from play, that kind of thing. You can also search for the Mistveil Plains with Flagstones of Drokair. That's the idea behind it. And then for Flagstones, it's good because you can, if you have a draw with Flagstones plus Ghost Quarter, you can get to 2 white if you want to by sacking the Ghost Quarter on the Flagstones, and you can search for 2 planes that way. And I like the Ghost Quarters because they can hit opposing manlands, so stuff like Inkmoth Nexus or Blinkmoth Nexus or whatever it may be, a Celestial Colonnade, you can hit those with Ghost Quarter, and turns out that manlands aren't the easiest to deal with for this deck, so I really like having the Ghost Quarters. And this deck doesn't play that quickly, meaning that you're not going to actually win the game that quickly. You just want to defend yourself quickly. So you want to be able to answer your opponent's early plays, and then Enduring Ideal or one of the various win conditions is going to seal it up later in the game. So Porphyr Nodes, sometimes you can hit multiple creatures with it. If your opponent has an early start and you have a nodes, you can go destroy a creature, destroy a creature, destroy a creature. Other times your opponent just plays a creature, you play the nodes, and you just use it as a 1-for-1 removal spell. And then it can stick in play, and sometimes it helps for devotion. Other times it just dies pretty early on. Couple 3 copies of Path. Path is just the best white removal spell, so even though it's not an enchantment that fits the game plan overall per se, it's just a good card. There's 3 main, 1 in the board. One of the signature cards of the deck, Runed Halo. It stops a lot of the most annoying threats your opponents might play, and it also produces double white for devotion. Suppression Field, there's a reasonable amount of the decks in the format rely on activated abilities, some more than others, so this card can get boarded out, but when it's good, it can be really good. The one Luminarch Ascension, it's a win condition. Once you get those quest counters, 4 of them, it can just take over the game, but you need everything else to be in place, really, before this card is going to do its job. And then a couple Journey to Nowheres for removal. Friction Unlife helps protect you from losing the game. A lot of the times it's just a gain 10 for 3. That's an enchantment. One copy of Prison Term. This can get you out of some weird situations, and you can also play it early. So remember that it also prevents activated abilities of the opposing creature, and you can then reattach it to stuff. So it's a pretty cool card. It's not overwhelmingly powerful, but I've been happy with the 1 Prison Term, 1 Oblivion Ring. And then, of course, 4 copies of Ghostly Prison. This card is amazing against any type of go-wide creature deck. The idea is that sometimes you get enough of these types of effects that your opponents can't attack with more than 1, or sometimes can't attack with any creatures whatsoever. There's 4 copies of Leyline. This could be all the way at the 0 mana casting cost spot, because if you have it in your opener, of course, it's going to cost 0, and it's going to shut down a lot of the more annoying cards that your opponent might have access to, especially discard. This deck does not want to have to fight through discard or burn, for that matter. So really happy with the Leyline. The 4 copies of Leyline, and of course adding 2 White Devotion for Nykthos without necessarily needing to spend any mana on the card is pretty special. 1 Face Fetters, similar to some of the other cards, but it's got that gain 4 attached, which makes it worth the 4 mana investment, but it could also go after Planeswalkers. And then the Heliod, God of the Sun. This card's been pretty nice. It can beat down the opponent, it can be a blocker, and a lot of times you've got that 5 Devotion that you want for this card. And then 2 copies of Sphere of Safety. So this is the bigger Ghostly Prison, and you see all the enchantments here. So this is basically the theme of the deck. Sphere of Safety can lock your opponent out completely from attacking you. Now we get to the Enduring Ideal and some bullets. So there's going to be some matchups where you're going to want to search for Dovescape, and that's going to stop any potential non-creature spells your opponent may play. And so when your opponent goes wide with the birds that they're going to be making off the Dovescape, that's perfectly fine, because if you already have something like a Sphere of Safety or Ghostly Prison, they're not going to be able to attack with them all. And then the Form of the Dragon, it's a win condition. There's more or less 3 win conditions in the deck. Form of the Dragon is the easiest way to win, but you've also got Heliod and the Luminarch Ascension as well. And sometimes you do draw one of these win conditions, so you need more than just the 1 or even 2 in your deck. And of course, we've got Enduring Ideal. Sometimes there will be matchups where a single card will just win you the game on the spot when you're able to search for it. Other times you'll need 2 or 3 searches, but once this card gets going, that should be the game. The sideboard, we've got 2 copies of Boseiju for the counterspell matchups that are blue, grindy matchups. Another path for the creature decks should be pretty obvious when this one comes in, similar to the Journey to Nowhere and the Oblivion Ring. These are all spot removal spells. Greater Aromancy. This is a bullet that I switched from the main deck to the sideboard, but that's because a lot of times after board, your opponent will be boarding in enchantment removal. And then you can have this Greater Aromancy to protect all of your other enchantments, so that if they are playing an enchantment removal spell, your opponent is going to have to first get rid of the Aromancy, then get rid of your other enchantments. So we've got Peace of Mind. Peace of Mind, it's a life gain effect and mostly comes in against burn and aggro. And it also is an enchantment that sits in play. And just being an enchantment that sits in play in this deck is important. Similar to Rest in Peace, it comes in mostly against Dredge. There's some other times you might want to bring it in. And 1 Aura of Silence. This is another way you can board against the affinity decks, but it's also good against Boggles, it's good against Lantern, so there's a bunch of spots where you're going to want this card. It's a versatile card that you can use as a disenchant. You can use it, just have it sitting in play. There's also 2 copies of Stony Silence for those artifact matchups. And then 1 copy of Nevermore. So this is a combo killer. So say you're playing against Scapeshift or something of that nature, and you can name a Scapeshift or name the signature combo card out of your opponent with Nevermore and stop it from being able to be played, similar to a Meddling Mage type card. So this is the deck. It's a pretty cool deck, and I want to play more with it.